Welcome back to the IBSP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
Errol Spence is rooting for Bud Crawford. And look, let's break it down honestly and objectively as possible. And Errol Spence Jr. was asked about Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford. And Errol Spence stated, and I quote, "If Terrence Crawford wants to challenge himself to be great, then let him try to be great. I'm with it. I'd be going for Bud Crawford in that fight. I don't know if he'd win or lose, but if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off. He's chasing greatness." And this is what Errol Spence said of Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. Now, there's one key statement in there that you need to pay attention to. He says, "I'd be going for Bud Crawford." Now, you got to really think about it. Bud Crawford whooped this man's ass so bad, beat his head in, beat his face in, almost destroyed his entire career, that now he's a fan of yours. He's a fan of yours. He's believing in you. He thinks you're great. You remember, this is the same Errol Spence that said years ago, "Bud's too light in the ass to beat me." But yet, he destroys Errol Spence. Errol Spence become a huge fan of Bud Crawford. Errol Spence refuses to rematch Bud Crawford. And he's saying, "I'd be rooting for Terrence Crawford." I think that's hilarious that you've turned a guy who was your biggest competition into a fan because you whooped his ass so bad. I find that very interesting. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, you can't really look at anything Errol Spence says seriously. And the reason why you can is because this is the same Errol Spence that, that thought Jermell Charlo would beat Canelo. This is the same Errol Spence that thought he would beat Canelo. And so now he's saying he's rooting for Bud and doesn't know if he'd win or lose, but he's chasing greatness. I understand that because he whooped your ass, you feel like you have to always pull for the guy that beat you. That makes perfect sense. We see this all the time in boxing. Guys, get in their feelings about getting their ass whooped, and now they become fans of the guy who put a foot in their ass. Because men lie, women lie, but the facts don't lie.